The next day, June 9, 2008, at 10:45 a.m., the investigative police officer brought me to the interrogation room. I followed him as fast as I could while handcuffed and shackled at the ankles. We had taken the elevator to the floor, or floors above us. I cannot remember how many floors there were, and had entered the interrogation room, which was essentially an empty room with a long brown table with a microphone and a laptop computer on it. There were cameras perched in the corners of the ceiling directed towards me. He removed my handcuffs, but left my shackles on my ankles. He sat me down in the corner of the room adjacent to the door, and he offered me a drink, which I declined. He introduced himself as Sergeant Keith Patrick. I was now more certain that I had seen him before at my church almost 4 years ago, and he continued talking. "I am the investigator for the murder of your wife. This is obviously going to be a lengthy process. It's a major crime, and there are a lot of people behind the scenes that are assisting with this murder investigation. I see that you have some scratches on your face. What other medical problems do you have? Are you on any medication?" After I replied no to both of his questions, he continued talking. "Okay, I am just checking to see who we are dealing with. I am not here to play any tricks on you. I am not here to lie to you. I am not here to judge you. I am just here to find the truth. That's our job, to find out why we have a dead individual. That's our job. It is that simple. We have done some checking on you, and there's nothing on you in our database system. You're very clean. I have dealt with people just recently with over 200 incidents with the police. And now I have here Demetrius Angelis. Is that how you pronounce your last name? I understand that you're from Greece." After I replied that my father was born in Greece and that I myself was born in Montreal, he continued to talk incessantly, trying to befriend me as I sat there and listened. "Oh, Montreal. Okay. And so we do checks on everything, your residence, your kids, your wife, anything and everything, just to make sure that we have a snapshot of who we're dealing with before we speak to them. I guess what I'm trying to say, Demetrius, is that I do not see nothing on you. I have a very recent report with you from April 2008 involving an incident with your wife and kids. I am aware of that, but other than that, nothing, except 4 parking violations. But basically, as far as I'm concerned, nothing. And so that intrigues me, and it intrigues the investigative team. Well, we're thinking, why do we have a guy that has no criminal record, and we have checked all over? There is nothing on this guy. And now we have him in a cell block wearing a blue suit. Let's go see what he has to say. And that is where we're at. We've done our homework, and now we're having a chat here. Do you understand that? You are new at this. You're not like a lot of people we deal with who have been in here numerous times. You seem to have a good job, it appears, right? You're employed, so you seem like a smart man. And so I just want to make sure that you're aware of the situation that you are in. You have been arrested for murder. You look stressed. We all have our baggage, and we all have our stressors, right? And it's how things unfold in front of us. Do you want to drink some water and share a muffin? After I politely declined, he began eating his muffin and continued talking. No? Okay. So the way I approach the subject is, we receive a call. The Ottawa police receives a call with regards to an incident at 30 McEwen Avenue yesterday. It's about 2:08 in the afternoon. We get a call, and the person identifies himself and sets out some circumstances concerning why we are required. Okay? And that caller is subsequently put on to ambulance, and I have the recording here. Now, that was you that made the call yesterday afternoon. Do you remember speaking to the dispatcher? I can actually say when you got sent over to the ambulance, I could tell that you were overwhelmed because they ask a lot of questions. They really do. They want to know everything. your date of birth, your kids, and I spoke to your kids. You have beautiful kids. Your daughter is just adorable. Your son, I didn't talk to because he's too young. I used to be in the sexual assault and child abuse section here for many years, so I had the opportunity to talk to lots and lots of kids. When I talked to your daughter, we had a long conversation. She is a smart kid. She knows that you are here. Have you been told where she has been placed? The Children's Aid Society. They will be well taken care of there. It's important that you understand the process. I know that there was some sort of arrangement for you to place them with family, but there is a process that we have to adhere to. We are sort of saying that family is so important, that families should be kept together, but there's a process to make sure that the Children's Aid Society does a proper check before any kind of decision has been made. So they are safe. Your daughter speaks a few languages. I heard English, French, Greek, and some Vietnamese. She goes to Eduardo Bond School. Is that a private school? A new French school? Does she usually speak French at home, or does it depend on who she's talking to? Anyway, so at 2:08 yesterday afternoon, we received this call concerning this incident, and I must say that you're saying that was you speaking to the dispatcher. Upon reviewing that, then we spoke to the paramedics and some of the police. You provided information concerning what had happened during that day. So part of our job is finding out, maybe a little preamble, a little bit of history of you and your wife, okay? And then we go through to the day and basically what happened. And you did give clear statements to them, but obviously there's a lot of questions or details lacking. And that's basically what this part of the process is, for you to explain just what happened. And like I said, I can play the 911 recording for you, go through the whole thing, but I would like, seriously, Demetrius, I think it would be important if you have an opportunity to tell your side of the story. You obviously have some information to provide because you were there, and to a certain extent you were. Some comments you made to the dispatcher was that you were there and as a result possibly caused the death of your wife. I know that you're going through a lot of stuff. I do. Obviously, I don't know everything that's going on in your life, but I feel I know a couple of things. A little bit about what's going on from what we took from your pocket when you were in your cell, the previous calls, and talking to you, so I have a flavor. And that's why it's important to me. It's like a big puzzle, right? My job is to build a house. Our job is to build a foundation. Before we go up, we have to start and put the walls up. Build a house. And that's what I want to do with you. I want to build this house to find out what happened. I looked him in the eyes, calmly and politely replied, I understand that you want to build a house, but I don't feel comfortable at this time talking to you and participating. I am not healthy or strong enough to go ahead and continue this interview. I am badly bruised and beaten. I am still bleeding. I have not slept well, and so I am not comfortable speaking to you at this time and in my current condition and state. Also, I would rather have my lawyers present for support. The investigator, still calm and friendly, replied, No, I understand that. I guess what I'm saying is, I just want to make sure you are aware that lawyers are not part of this interview or anything, okay? So we don't bring them in here. I calmly and politely repeated to the investigator that I preferred to have my lawyer present with me, but he ignored me and continued talking. Okay, as far as, and that is what I'm saying, Demetrius, I know that this is a lot on your plate. I've watched you come up here, and you're closing your eyes, and you are frowning like you're obviously getting snapshots of stuff that has happened. Okay? I've seen stuff in my life, too, that I know, and I feel confident knowing that when you close your eyes, you see something and your eyes are back open because it's a lot better when they're open, right? Okay, you are talking about support. I am not here to disrespect you at all in any way, shape, or form. I think I told you that you are an adult. You are an adult. You've taken some responsibility for, you have contacted the police. You have talked, made numerous statements about what had occurred, so you are taking responsibility. Absolutely, absolutely. You do have injuries, and of course, that's something that, tweaks my curiosity too. That's a big part of the puzzle. You are saying that you need support, but there's only really one, actually probably maybe 3 people who know exactly what happened that are still with us. Your kids and you, right? So you need support. But there's also, like I said, a process where you can help yourself. I mean, you're the one that called. You're the one that said, yeah, that's me. So it's not a case of who done it. So I'm looking to discuss whether or not you were in your apartment, whether or not you had some play in your wife's death. That's because that's all past us. Do you understand? I mean, there's a certain time when a man, and you must admit to what he did. I mean, this truly might stay with you forever, right? I mean, you were there, right? Do you understand? Look, I was in a car accident once. I saw stuff. Somebody didn't make it out of the car accident. Guess what? That stayed forever with me. Absolutely forever with me, and I wish it wouldn't be, but it is. And I guess what I'm saying is I remember speaking to people about the incident, and you know what? You're talking about wanting resources and support. Sometimes I know support comes from within. From within. Do you know what I'm saying? It is from within. Your lawyer cannot give that to you. I mean, not only your lawyer, but I can't give you. Nobody can give you the support you might be thinking about. It's within you. You are not a 7-year-old. You are a very intelligent man, that is clear, that knows what is what, and you have the ability to step up to the plate. Okay? I spoke to your daughter yesterday, and she has a dad now, okay? I understand the flavor of what was happening before this, all before the incident with there was some sort of separation coming down the pipe, right? I know that last Wednesday that you went to see the rental office and you wanted to advise Ms. Donnelly that you and your wife were separating and that you needed only one name on the lease, okay? We've done our homework, Demetrius. You have told us what happened, right? We have a flavor of what happened. We know that you are the caregiver. That's the flavor I get. I have 2 kids, a lot older than your kids. I have 2 kids, and I know how that works as being parents, as being someone that supports and nurtures kids. And when your daughter was interviewed, I see stuff that we take off of you. We speak to witnesses. I am thinking Demetrius is the caregiver in the family. That's what I got. And it's interesting because I'm always getting the feeling that possibly your wife was closer to one child more than the other. That's the flavor I got too. And as I said, I have kids. I have read that letter that we found on your person when you were arrested. I told him frankly that they were notes from my divorce lawyer. Okay. So what I'm saying, Demetrius, is, when I read the letter, and I read it a number of times because you have stuff written all over the edges and looking back on what people were telling us at school. Witnesses. We've seen Demetrius with the children or taking the kids to school. They see you always bringing your daughter to school and hardly ever see the mother. And I'm thinking, okay, he has a vested interest. Obviously, they're your kids, but there seems to be more of a one-sided factor here, and that intrigues me. It does. Obviously, there's a divorce coming down the pipe. I have many friends that have gone through that, many friends that have stayed with me because of that whole process. And so I have a flavor of it, okay? And that is important to the whole picture. I see your daughter and her little brother. He is concerned about you. He doesn't call you Dad, he calls you Baba. And so it's obviously, that's what I'm saying. Okay, the kids, school teachers, all this stuff, okay? What's going on with Demetrius? He's the guy that has a job. He's the one who does the caregiving. He's the one that's always, I was chuckling when you were telling people what your kids are eating, all the wonderful things you are feeding them, these meals that you're eating. I feel jealous for my kids because my kids eat Kraft Dinner, but then obviously your wife gives them Vietnamese noodles, and that is every day. So that's a nurturing aspect. That's a nurturing aspect. So you're taking care of them. You're feeding them. You're the nurturer. You're the caretaker, and so that plays into where we are today. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't take a rocket science to figure that out. I'm not sure about your employment, how that's going, but you know you and your wife are separated and you have these 2 kids, and let's face it, divorce is hard on kids, and sometimes they're used as pawns, right? People use kids to do whatever particular purpose they want to better their situation in that process. That's not fair, right? But I have 2 kids here that truly want their Baba, and that speaks volumes to me. Your daughter is a very bright girl, and when I heard that recording about how your kids were present when that occurred, I guess that's some of the clarification here that I want. Because I wanted to put at rest and my mind at ease to what your daughter told me. But I have talked to hundreds of kids, Demetrius, hundreds, and I always have a flavor for when the red flag goes up, when stuff just isn't right, you know? And I'm saying now that this little girl has her own hell for a while and came out of it, and she knows that her mom is dead. She knows that, okay? Of course, we didn't tell her how that came to be. That's not right, right? But we had to advise her about that and that her dad is okay and that we are talking to her dad. You understand that? So she went and hugged her little brother. All these children's aid social workers around them, and she starts patting his back, telling him, "It's okay, we'll be okay." That speaks volumes to me, too. And we have a room full of social workers that are saying, "What a strong girl," while everyone else is crying. What I am trying to say is that this is about family, right? This is about stressors in a family. This is about circumstances that sometimes just go bad. They go very bad. And this is about having 2 opposing stories, one from a child and one from you. And that's a concern to me, because why would this little girl lie to me? This girl speaks 3 languages. She's very good at interacting with people. She was a pleasure to watch, but then all of a sudden there's times where you can clearly see that she's stressed. You talk about being stressed. You can clearly see that she's stressed. And sometimes finding the truth alleviates stress, right? You close your eyes, but maybe she won't be able to close her eyes for a very long time. I am from Trinidad, the West Indies, and in my family, my dad would discipline me. My mom would never discipline me. She gives me cookies afterwards. I was getting tired of his chatter, and I politely told him that I wanted legal counsel and that he was suffocating me and pushing me into a corner. I repeated again that I didn't want to speak or hear any more, but he simply continued talking. That's fine, but what I'm saying is I have a guy that's never been in any kind of serious trouble before, and thank goodness for that, but it's no mystery as far as what happened. We know the history. We know that you were there. There is evidence. We have evidence. We have the scene of the crime. We have your conversation. This is your opportunity. I've been an officer for 22 years, and what I saw are clues. It's the morning. You are having an argument with your wife. There's some sort of physical altercation that takes place. You receive an injury, and then things go bad. You told the dispatcher that she was dead. So what I'm saying is that we have the ball. We have it right here, but you know, the ball is not as big because there's still stuff that you're not really filling up. And I must say, when I spoke to your daughter, I really wanted to go there and give her a big hug. I did, because I think that she did see something. I think that she knows something, and I want to release all of that for her. You go to church, right? What religion are you in your family? Greek Orthodox? Do you go to church regularly on Sunday? Do the kids go? Did your wife go at all? We have a lady from Vietnam and we have a Greek person. That is very unusual, I say. I mean, your religion, your beliefs, were they very similar, Demetrius? Would she go to church and support what you are doing in church, or was it just more for the kids? You know what I'm saying? I'm a Protestant and my wife is Catholic. You know, and I went through all of the courses, and this is something that I did for her. And I'm a religious man. I've lost my mom, I've lost friends, and I have certain beliefs. Absolutely. Absolutely, okay? But I have her support, and she has my support. So I'm saying, your daughter said that you go to church, and sometimes your little son falls asleep, and it sounds just like my son. But her mom didn't always go to church. Is that correct? You go to church. What do you believe in? Do you know what I'm saying? No disrespect. But people go to church, but it's just because they want to do it for the kids. You know what I'm saying? Some people don't believe, but they just go. So I guess what I'm asking you is, do you want your kids to be good? Your kids look happy and loved. So when your daughter goes to church, does she ask you questions about all of that? Questions about God and what happens when people die? Does she ever ask you about that? I just looked at him with a blank face and replied, she goes to Sunday school. He replied, Sunday school. Okay, so you are saying that she knows. What I'm asking you, Demetrius, is, do you have these conversations with her, like when I tuck my daughter in at night? She knows what death is, right? I mean, she appeared to know. I was glad to see that because some people kind of steer their kids away from that, right? They don't want to talk about it. But your daughter seems to know because you're the caregiver. You're the guy that takes your kids to school, Sunday school. From what the school principal says, you're always the one taking them to school, walk them to school, and your wife sometimes stands in the corner and doesn't go in. Anyway, when I see that, I'm thinking that I want to know more about this family. It's a closely knit into this whole event, and that's why I want to speak to you. And if you're the guy that's teaching his kids right from wrong or being good, I'm just saying being good, not even pushing religion on them, just being good. That's what I tell my kids. I just want respect. Teach them respect and being good to each other and telling the truth. That's all I can ask from you, and you can decide your own path, right? So you're the guy that does that with the kids. Would you tell them to not take responsibility? If they broke a window, would you tell them not to take responsibility? If something happens to you, you would step up to the plate and you would take responsibility. You know where I'm going with this? You're not a dumb man. Am I accurate or not? He was annoying me with his insinuations and allegations, and I calmly and politely replied, based on what you have said, you have already arrived at a conclusion. You have already made assumptions and judgments. I know what your job is, and that is to get a confession and an admission of guilt. That is your job. But, sir, I would rather have my lawyers present when I answer your questions. I really wanted to throw his whole monologue about taking responsibility for one's wrongdoing back into his face by asking him about Officer Donaldo's irresponsibility and negligence on April 5th, 2008, for failing to ensure my safety and those of my children by refusing to arrest the children's mother and her lover for the attempted abduction of my 3-year-old son. But I restrained myself from doing so, and I told myself that now was not the time nor the place to raise this issue, especially since I was alone with the lead investigator on his territory. I simply ended my response by reiterating that I did not want to answer his questions without my lawyer present. Still, he replied, "Okay, don't call me sir, but anyway, yes. Yes, that is my job, and I have to do it. As for someone to come in here and be with you, that can't happen. Because, like I said, you are an adult. This isn't about you and me. I mean, I'm not here to judge you. I just want to understand why we are going down this path. You can remain silent, but I am going to continue talking to try and understand why your wife is dead. The question that I have is based on what we heard on the 911 recording, is what I want you to confirm how you caused the death of your wife. That is the purpose of all of this, to confirm how you caused the death of your wife. That's all we're here for, is to find out how you caused the death of your wife. I politely told him that I wanted to return to my holding cell, but he ignored me, and instead he began playing the recording of the phone conversation between me and the emergency dispatcher. After he finished playing the recording, he continued his interrogation with me. Okay, that's why you are here today. You know what I'm saying? And I was trying to be straight up with you. This isn't a whodunit case. You are not on medication. You're tired, I'm tired. This incident happened in your home and you provided information. Unfortunately, there's more to it because you know that there's more to it. In your heart, you know that there's more to it. Absolutely you do. Okay? It's clear from my interview with your daughter that there's more to it, and that's why I wanted to speak to you. It's that simple. We're not arguing whether or not you called. You're saying that it is you. We're not arguing with that. There was an altercation in your house. Absolutely. You pinned her down. She stopped moving. How did you pin her down? How did you pin your wife down? He started growing impatient and angry. Still, I remained calm and polite, repeating again that I wanted legal counsel since I had nothing else to add to the 911 recording. I reiterated that I felt that I was being pushed into a corner without having legal counsel. He replied, "You're absolutely right. You're at a police station being arrested for the first-degree murder, so you are not in a very good position. This is all a new process to you, but we still have to investigate. We have to make sure that you have an opportunity to tell us, right? You started to tell us, and I'm asking for further details, but you're saying that there's nothing more, and that's your story." Frustrated with our interrogation session together, he left the room only to return a few minutes later to handcuff me again and escort me back to my holding cell. Later that day, Mr. Chenier had phoned the police station so that he could speak to me. I was re-escorted to the phone booth and spoke to him. He asked me how the interrogation went. I replied that the sergeant started the interrogation by being polite and friendly, but that he became increasingly angry and mean-spirited after I had refused to answer his questions. Chenier told me that this was typically the case and that I acted well. He told me that he would represent me in court tomorrow when the prosecutor will formally charge me with manslaughter in front of a judge. He will likely see me in the basement of the courthouse before we went into the courtroom. The next morning, I was transported to the basement of the courthouse by police car, where I would wait my turn to be formally charged in court. Sure enough, Mr. Chenier came to see me in one of the lawyer rooms, which was separated by glass. He was a balding, burly Caucasian of above-average height. He appeared worried. He just told me that the prosecutor had suddenly increased the criminal charge from manslaughter to second-degree murder. What? He said that she is going to prove a motive for the killing in court and that I intentionally wanted to kill the children's mother. The prosecutor had contemplated charging me with first-degree murder, premeditated murder, but she did not have sufficient proof to prove this allegation. Absurdity. When I asked Chenier what proof the prosecutor had to justify an impulsive second-degree murder charge, he replied that he did not know because she refused to divulge this information with him. I shook my head in disbelief, then asked him about my children. He said that they were in the hands of the social workers at the Children's Aid Society of Ottawa and that they would be used by the prosecutor and the Ottawa police as their primary witnesses in court to convict me. He said that he had already contacted my brother Peter, as had the Ottawa police. He suggested that I give Peter power of attorney to manage my affairs while I remained detained in prison awaiting bail. Shortly thereafter, I was brought upstairs into one of the